As we entered 1982, the French movement reached a historic crossroads, the beginning of the final 7-year completion stage of our 21-year course. The glory of the Providence was manifesting globally with 2 monumental celebrations, the 2,075 couples blessing in New York on July 1st, followed by the 6,000 couples blessing in Seoul on October 14th. On that historic day in Seoul, Father Moon prayed, "We come to realize how desperate you are to embrace all mankind with your love." Yet, even as this light filled the world, the sky over France was darkening. While the global family celebrated, the French movement was entering its own Gethsemane. Heavy clouds of state opposition and administrative pressure were accumulating, signaling that our greatest test of faith was about to begin. In March 1982, the storm finally broke with the kidnapping of our sister, Claire Chateau, who was 21 years old at the time. She was abducted in a city street of Besançon in eastern France, near the Swiss border. Involved were the young woman's parents, her brother and his wife, as well as 3 opponents of the sect, 2 former followers, Mr. Martin Fayas, Alan Tate Wood, and Miss Alexandra Schmidt. This was no random act, but a sophisticated operation involving professional deprogrammers and the nascent anti-cult association ADFI, designed to ignite a national fire against us. On June 8 of the same year, the pressure reached its peak. At 6 a.m., police raided our centers nationwide, hauling members away in handcuffs. Even our scholar friends received intimidating visits. As the raids dominated the headlines all day, a haunting question emerged: how can the victims of a kidnapping be treated like dangerous criminals? By the end of the year, the assault shifted to the financial front as the tax administration threatened to dismantle our foundations entirely. This period of intense domestic pressure in France mirrored the global cross being carried by Father Moon, who would soon enter Danbury prison in July 1984. Yet despite the raids, the handcuffs, and the financial threats, the movement refused to stay silent. We continued to challenge the fake peace movements of the era and held high-level PWPA conferences on media power. We proved that even when the state attempts to crush the spirit, the truth remains unshakable. The election of François Mitterrand in 1981 was more than a change in leadership, it was a shift in the very center of gravity for French life. For the first time in the Fifth Republic, the left held the levers of power, bringing a new and aggressive approach to secularism. The Mitterrand government adopted a calculated communication strategy using the pejorative term secte to isolate us. The administrative war began in earnest on December 22, 1982, when the tax authority levied a staggering multi-million-dollar demand against us, a blatant maneuver to bankrupt the movement. In March 1983, the siege became official policy. Prime Minister Pierre Mauroy had commissioned a report on cults authored by MP Alain Vivian, a longtime adversary of new religious movements. Historically, the French state maintained a philosophy of neutrality in religious affairs. The Vivian report shattered that tacit agreement. It transformed what had been a trinity of opposition, parents, clergy, and local media, into a monopoly of the state. Paradoxically, this happened just as many of our members were finally reconciling with their own families, only to face tears now being forced upon us by the hand of the government itself. Faced with this tightening circle of state hostility, the movement once again looked toward the global providence. In May 1983, 30 of our bravest members left France to support the IOWC in the United States, beginning a mission that would last for years. Even as the French state tried to close our doors, our members opened their hearts to the world. As we moved into the mid-1980s, the French providence underwent a profound transformation. While the government's fiscal siege forced us to close many of our original centers, including the beloved Château de Morny, this journey of tears led to the birth of a new, powerful flagship, Causa. We moved into a professional era, establishing an institute near the Opera House in Paris and reaching intellectuals through 4-star hotel seminars. Our success was a direct insult to the state's ideology of curbing us. This rise was a direct glory in the face of persecution. In June 1984, 120 French members traveled to Washington, D.C., for high-level seminar training under leaders like Dr. Bo Hypak and Jean-Pierre Gabriel. The movement matured. The young pioneers of the 70s were now becoming young couples in their late 30s and early 40s, raising the first generation of blessed children. As our Sunday services became more family-oriented, our public mission became more professional. The year 1986 was the providential summit of our 21-year course. The government's fiscal war was reaching its climax, and they were confident they could finally destroy us. The atmosphere was further poisoned by the publication of the book L'Empire Moon, The Moon Empire. Written by a powerful, hostile journalist, it became an instant bestseller, reviving anti-cult hysteria across France and directly attempting to halt the intellectual progress of Causa. It was a massive, coordinated attempt to silence our voice forever. Yet, in the middle of this national storm, a historic reversal occurred. In March 1986, as the media and the tax administration closed in, Pierre Chirac was elected to the French Parliament at the age of 40. It was a stunning glory, a member of the movement entering the heart of the French state at the very moment the state was trying to erase us. By 1987, we had not only survived the Mitterrand administration, we had built a national peace embassy with the support of Causa in the south of Paris, which we called the Chatillon Center. In a final strategic move, Father Moon mobilized over 400 members from all over Europe to France. He saw Paris not just as a local battlefield, but as a key gateway in the march to Moscow. By confronting communism in the birthplace of the Kane-type view of life, the French pioneers laid the final foundation for the fall of the Berlin Wall and the liberation of the East. Their 21 years of tears had finally secured a global glory. As 1989 dawned, the world changed forever. As the Berlin Wall fell, the battle shifted from changing the world to restoring the family. Through missions in Poland, the call to become tribal messiahs, and the focus on our first French blessed children, we began passing the torch to a new generation. In November 1989, we were anchored for this transition by another visitation from Father and Mother Moon, who prepared us for a 3-year test of our spiritual ownership. Between 1990 and 1992, the Providence moved in 3 profound stages, testing if we could truly convey the heritage we had received. In 1990, we were called to our sister nation, Poland, where we offered our own spiritual history to young seekers who possessed the same fresh and innocent minds we once had. In 1991, the call went out for every blessed family to return to their hometowns. The front line was no longer a protest in Paris, it was our own families and neighbors. We were asked to become the messiahs of our own lineages. In 1992, for the first time, the focus turned to our own flesh and blood as the first French blessed children began their own workshops. The glory of this era was found in the quiet passing of the torch, ensuring that the tears shed by the first pioneers would bloom into an eternal legacy. In 1993, France entered the completed Testament Age, a final stage of restoration focused on the blessed families. This era was inaugurated by the historic visit of the Mother of Peace, Dr. Hak Jae-han Moon, during her global speaking tour. By 1994, this shift became tangible as Japanese WFWP volunteers arrived in Paris, transforming our peace embassy into a home for global sisterhood. That same year, the new family pledge was bestowed, becoming our liturgical anchor. Yet, this expansion brought deeper tears. In December 1994, we lost Jean-Pierre Gabriel, the voice of our movement, in a tragic accident. His intellectual legacy remains a sacred sacrifice on our path toward one family under God. In 1995, we fought a terrifying travel ban to bring Father Moon to France. Working day and night with our legal counsel, we fought for the right of the word to be heard. On November 4, 1995, he successfully entered the country, and on November 5 at the PLM Saint-Jacques, Father Moon gave his first and only public speech on French soil to over 1,000 guests, a crowning victory 30 years after the first Holy Ground. The summer of 1995 also brought a sacred harvest as, in August, we celebrated a milestone of lineage with the eldest second generation of the French movement receiving the holy blessing. Simultaneously, at our National Chatillon Center we joined the global 360,000 couples blessing, marking the expansion of the family providence to a world-level scale. As the 1990s drew to a close, a new wave of national persecution broke over France. Using unrelated tragedies like the Solar Temple as a pretext, Parliament began drafting a new report on cults, 13 years after the Vivian Report. Though the political landscape had shifted, the anti-cult habit had taken deep roots. The media atmosphere became predatory. One major weekly even ran a headline that read, "Cults, the hunt is open." The consequences of this rhetoric were immediate and violent. On January 29, 1996, a chilling echo of January 1976, a bomb exploded at our former peace embassy at midnight. The blast caused severe damage to the entrance, shattering the peace of our Japanese missionaries. Shockingly, the anti-terrorist police showed little interest in our testimonies. This was the tears of 1996, a literals witch hunt codified by a parliamentary list of 172 a dangerous movements, a move so extreme that even the established churches in France rose up to protest its methods. But the movement did not retreat. In May 1996, national leaders Laurent and Shigeko Ledouce embarked on a 6-week tour across France, reuniting the family and re-engaging VIPs who had stood by us for decades. As we entered the new century, we faced the difficult task of selling our historic Rue de Chatillon Peace Embassy in 2000, a casualty of the long-standing financial and administrative pressure. Yet from these ashes, a more universal glory emerged. By 2003, the focus shifted to the global stage as we gathered 150 diplomats and dignitaries in Paris to discuss an interreligious council at the United Nations. Under the guidance of President and Mrs. Song, we proved that, despite 30 years of opposition, fire, and bombs, the vision of our founder, Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon, had evolved from a survival battle into a global blueprint for world peace. During the beginning of the new millennium, the founders of the Universal Peace Federation led many more providential events. Back in 1965, Father Moon came to Spain to establish the Holy Grounds. After 44 years of providential anticipation and 14 years of legal restrictions following the Schengen incident in Paris, the doors of Europe finally reopened for true parents in 2009. Arriving in Nice on July 17 without obstacle, Father and Mother Moon stayed in Monte Carlo before traveling to Seville for the opening of the Peace Cup. Their journey through Italy, France, and Switzerland was far from a tourist trip. It was a focused mission to restore the spiritual heart of the Mediterranean. True Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon identified Barcelona as the most Babel-like city in Europe, a gateway through which missionaries once carried faith to the world. He sought to reclaim the Mediterranean, which was meant to be the center of the world at the time of Jesus, but due to the failure of Jesus' mission and later on Christianity, had shifted from the center of the Christian world to a place of secularization and Sin City culture. Through his presence in these key coastal cities, he established the conditions to liberate the region and restore its original providential purpose. At the age of 92, having exhausted his life in the service of God and humanity, Father Moon passed away. During the Sionwa Ascension ceremony, in September 17, 2012, Mother Moon shared a message of both profound sorrow and eternal hope, stating that Father Moon had perfected all providential tasks on earth and was now transitioning to initiate a new dimension of God's providence. Following 2012, Dr. Hak Jae-han Moon faced the immense challenge of succession. Despite internal turmoil among some heirs and various leaders, the vast majority of members gravitated toward Mother Moon, recognizing her as the one who knew the Father Moon's heart and mind best. To stabilize the movement, she promulgated the Cheon, Illinois Guk Constitution in 2014, establishing a Supreme Council to ensure continuity and global expansion. Reflecting the parental heart of God, Father and Mother Moon dedicated their lives to being model parents of 3 united generations. As the Mother of Peace, Dr. Hak Jae-han Moon expanded this vision to embrace all humanity with compassion and wisdom, working alongside her husband to realize a world of spiritual awakening and lasting peace. As we conclude this journey, we see a tapestry woven with the brightest glories and the most bitter tears. We have seen grand estates like the Château de Morny and the Peace Embassy at Rue de Chatillon come and go. We have faced the fire of 2 bombings, the weight of $1 million tax adjustments, and the sting of nationals' blacklists, but the memory of the founders of this global peace legacy, Father and Mother Moon, will never fade. They were not just loving parents, but also prophetic figures, giant philosophers and theologians, whose lives remain an extraordinary testimony of living for others. We must be clear about the nature of our struggle in France. Our movement was never officially banned in France, but the state chose a more subtle, suffocating path. They sought to block our very capacity to act. Through aggressive tax adjustments, media hunts, and administrative walls like the Schengen ban, they tried to stop our breath. Yet, even as Dr. Hak Jae-han Moon, the Mother of Peace, faces global crosses today, we do not resign. Buildings may be sold and borders may close, but the roots planted in the soil of France are eternal. Despite continuous obstacles and the combined opposition of the state, the media, and public opinion, we stand as the heirs to the dream of one family under God.